Good evening, football fans, and happy 2026 to all. Big Al here on this Friday, January 2nd, 2026. And welcome to my Week 18 NFL picks, both straight up and against the spread, plus my predictions on over-unders. Also coming up, the injury report, not just for the Saturday games, but for every game on Sunday as well. And we'll be taking a look at the clinching and elimination scenarios heading into week number 18. So stick around. This is going to be a rather long one. Like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell and get notified every time I go live. And before we jump into the picks, I gotta tell you how I did in week 17, which is not very good. I finished the week 8-8 straight up. I finished 7-9 against the spread and 6-10 on over-under totals. So for the season, my record through 17 weeks is 160-95 plus one tie straight up. My ATS record is 119, 133, and 4. And on over-unders, my record is 129, 123, and 4. So really not a good week picking games last week. But I hope to close out the regular season strong. All right, we've got 16 games on the schedule, the final 16 of the 2025 regular season, including a doubleheader on Saturday with two big games from the NFC. You'll have 14 games total on Sunday. You'll have 6 games at 1 p.m. Eastern. You'll have 7 at 4:25 p.m. Eastern, as both networks have the doubleheader. And then game 272 will be played out on Sunday Night Football. So let's dive right in to game 1 of the Saturday doubleheader. And it's for the NFC South Division title as the 8-8 Carolina Panthers visit the 7-9 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, the Panthers did beat the Buccaneers just 2 weeks ago in Charlotte, and has been in first place in the division since. That game kicks off Saturday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and ABC. Your announcers are Chris Fowler, Dan Orlovsky, Louis Riddick, Katie George, and Peter Schrager. Let's set that down. All right. So the Carolina Panthers are lower than the Tampa Bay Bucks. In my Week 18 power rankings, I have the Panthers at number 19 and the Bucks at number 18. What up, Chad? What up, Vikas? V-I-K-A-S. I can't. All right, the current point spread is Tampa Bay at -2.5, and the over-under is at 44. And these were the spreads that I wrote down as of Wednesday afternoon. All right. I'm taking the upset here. I got the Panthers winning 23-20. I have the game going under 44. And I'm taking Carolina plus 2.5. Now, a Tampa Bay loss does not necessarily mean the Buccaneers will be out of the playoffs. The Falcons-Saints game ties into all of this too. Hi, Anna. How are you? And I'll tell you what happens in that game shortly. Now let's get to the finale of the Saturday doubleheader. And it's the big one. This will decide the NFC West Division champion and the number 1 seed in the NFC. It's the 13-3 Seattle Seahawks at the 12-4 San Francisco 49ers. Saturday night at 8 on ESPN and ABC. Your announcers are Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Lisa Salters, and Laura Rutledge. And this is my game of the week, as both teams are within the top 5 of my week 5 or week 18 power rankings. Seattle comes in at number 3, while San Francisco is number 4. Current point spread, for some strange reason, is Seattle minus 1.5, and the over-under is 48. I have the Niners holding serve on their home field and winning 31-28. I have the game going over 48, and I'm taking the Niners at plus 1.5. Now, to the last day of the regular season. As I said, we have 6 games in the early portion on Sunday, and we'll kick this off with the Battle of Ohio Part 2, as the 4-12 Cleveland Browns visit the 6-10 Cincinnati Bengals. Sunday at 1 p.m. on CBS. Your announcers are Tom McCarthy, Logan Ryan, and Amanda Balionis. All right, the Browns are number 28 in my Week 18 power rankings, and the Bengals are number 23. Current point spread is Cincinnati minus 7.5. Over-under is 45. I have the Bengals winning 24-14 in a rather low-scoring game. Thus, I'm taking the under 45 in this one. And I have the Bengals at minus 7.5 points. Next up is the 7-8-1 Dallas Cowboys visiting the 3-13 New York Giants. Sunday at 1 p.m. on Fox. Your announcers are Kevin Kugler, Daryl Johnston, and Allison Williams. The boys come in at number 22 on my Week 18 power rankings, while the Giants are at number 30. Current point spread is Dallas minus 3.5. Over-under is 51. For Dallas, they have a chance to finish at 500 with a victory, and that's what I'm projecting here. I have Dallas winning 31-17. I have the game finishing under 51, but I won't be surprised if the game goes over, given the fact that Dallas's offense is so explosive. And I'm taking the Cowboys minus 3.5. Next up, the 9-6-1 Green Bay Packers visit the 8-8 Minnesota Vikings. Sunday at 1 p.m. on CBS. Your announcers are Spiro Ditas, Adam Archuleta, and Aditi Kinkawala. All right, the Pack come in number 13 in my Week 18 power rankings. The Vikings are at number 21. Current point spread is Minnesota minus 7.5, and the over-under is 36. The Packers have so many injuries that I got to take the Vikings, especially at US Bank Stadium. I have Minnesota winning 26-17. I have the game going over 36. And I'm taking the Vikings at minus 7.5. Next up, we're off to the AFC South, as the 8-8 Indianapolis Colts battle the 11-5 Houston Texans, who are still in the running for the division title. Sunday at 1 p.m. on CBS. Your announcers are Ian Eagle, J.J. Watt, and Evan Washburn. The Colts are number 20 in my Week 18 power rankings, while the Texans sit number 5. Current point spread is Houston minus 10. The over-under is 39. I do have the Texans winning straight up 28-21. I have the game going over 39. But I am taking Indianapolis with the 10 points as the visiting underdog, I should say. All right, as for the other game of the NFC South, this has some implications on the division title, although the 2 games physically are out of it. That's the 6-10 New Orleans Saints at the 7-9 Atlanta Falcons. Sunday at 1 p.m. on Fox. Your announcers are Chris Myers, Mark Schlereth, and Jennifer Hale. All right, the Saints, winners of 4 straight, moved up to number 24 in my Week 18 power rankings. The Falcons, coming off of last Monday night's victory over the Rams, is at number 17. Current point spread is Atlanta minus 3, over-under is 44.5. I have the Falcons winning this one 27-20. I have the game going over 44.5, and I'm taking Atlanta minus 3. The other game from the AFC South wraps up the 1 p.m. slate of games, and that's the 3-13 Tennessee Titans at the 12-4 Jacksonville Jaguars. It's pretty simple. A Jacksonville win, and they clinch the division. Sunday at 1 p.m. on Fox. Your announcers are Adam Amin, Drew Brees, and Christina Pink. All right, the Titans are at number 29 in my Week 18 power rankings, while the Jaguars are number 7. Current point spread is Jacksonville minus 12.5, and the over-under is 47.5. I have the Jaguars winning 28-17. I have the game going just under 47.5, but I am taking the Tennessee Titans with the points at plus 12.5. All right, now to the late portion of the Sunday schedule. You have 7 games in this window. Starting off with the 3-13 Arizona Cardinals at the 11-5 Los Angeles Rams, Sunday at 4:25 on Fox. Your announcers are Kevin Albert, Jonathan Vilma, and Megan O'Leary. All right, the Cardinals are at number 27 in my Week 18 power rankings, while the Rams are at number 8. Current point spread is LA minus 7, and the over-under is 46. I got the Rams winning easily 34-17. I have the game going over 46, and I'm taking LA minus 7. Next up, it's the 8-8 Detroit Lions at the 11-5 and NFC North champion Chicago Bears. Sunday at 4:25 on Fox. Your announcers are Kevin Burkhardt, Tom Brady, Aaron Andrews, and Tom Rinaldi. All right, the Lions dropped to number 18 in my Week 18 power rankings. The Bears sit number 11. Current point spread is Chicago minus 3, over under 50.5. Bears win this one in a rather close game, 27-21. I have the game going under 50.5, and I'm taking the Bears minus 3. Next up, the 6-10 Kansas City Chiefs, who's had a nightmare of a season. They'll finish it off against the 2-14 Las Vegas Raiders. Sunday at 4:25 on CBS. Your announcers will be Chris Lewis, Kyle Long, and Tiffany Blackman. All right, the Chiefs have tumbled to number 25 in my Week 18 power rankings. Meanwhile, the Raiders are sitting at number 32. And if Vegas loses this game, they will have the number 1 pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Current point spread is Kansas City minus 5. The over-under is 37. I am not expecting points in this game, so I have the Chiefs winning 19-10. I have the game finishing under 37, and I'm taking KC minus 5. The other game in the AFC West, it's the 11-5 Los Angeles Chargers at the 13-3 Denver Broncos. Sunday at 4:25 on CBS. Your announcers are Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, and Tracy Wolfson. All right, the Chargers made it back to number 10 in my Week 18 power rankings. The Broncos, meanwhile, sit at number 2. Current point spread is Denver minus 12.5. Over-under is 37.5. And the Chargers are expected to rest their starters ahead of the playoffs coming up next week. I got the Broncos winning this one 24-19. I have the game going over 37.5. I'm taking the Chargers, though, with the points at plus 12.5. That game has implications on the number 1 seed in the AFC, as does our next game. The 7-9 Miami Dolphins at the 13-3 New England Patriots. Sunday at 4:25 on Fox. Your announcers are Joe Davis, Greg Olson, and Pam Oliver. All right. The Dolphins are number 16 in my Week 18 power rankings. The Patriots still sitting at the top spot. Current point spread is New England minus 11, and the over-under is 45.5. I got the Patriots winning 31-20. I have the game going over 45.5. And I'm taking New England right on the number at minus 11. The other game from the AFC East has the 3-13 New York Jets at the 11-5 Buffalo Bills, and what possibly could be the final game ever at the current Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, as they'll be moving into the new Highmark Stadium next season. That game is Sunday at 4:25 on CBS. Your announcers are Andrew Catalan, Charles Davis, Jason McCourty, and AJ Ross. All right, the Jets sit 31st in my Week 18 power rankings. The Bills are number 6. Current point spread is Buffalo -7. The over-under is 37.5. I have Buffalo winning this one 24-13. I'm taking the under 37.5. And I'm taking the Bills at -7 to cover. Next up, the 4-12 Washington Commanders at the 11-5 Philadelphia Eagles. That's this team right here. Sunday at 4:25 on CBS. Your announcers are Kevin Harlan, Ross Tucker, and Melanie Collins. All right, the Commanders are at number 26 in my Week 18 power rankings, while the Eagles are number 9. Current point spread is Philadelphia -3.5, and the over-under is 39. Now, many of the Eagles starters will not play in this game either, and this includes Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, among others. But I do have the Eagles winning this one 24-17. I have the game going over 39, and I'm taking my Birds at -3.5. And then game number 272 to wrap up the 2025 regular season hits the 8-8 Baltimore Ravens at the 9-7 Pittsburgh Steelers. Sunday night at 8:20 on NBC. Your announcers are Mike Tirico, Chris Collinsworth, and Melissa Stark. All right, the Ravens are sitting 12th in my Week 18 power rankings. The Steelers are number 14. Current point spread is Baltimore -3.5, and the over-under is at 41. Given the fact that the Ravens and Steelers play tight games, I expect a tight one on Sunday night. I have the Ravens winning 24-17 and capturing the AFC North. I have the game pushing the total, which is 41. And I have Baltimore at -3.5 on the spread. So those are my picks. Now we're going to get into the injury reports for all 16 games this week. And we'll start with the Panthers and Buccaneers. All right, for Carolina, linebacker Claudine Shirless is out with a calf and an ankle. Cornerback Robert Rochelle is out with a concussion. Linebacker Chris Barnes with a back. Offensive guard Robert Hunt with biceps. Wide receiver David Moore with an elbow. And defensive tackle Tershawn Wharton with a hamstring are all questionable. Other names listed include running back Rico Dowdle, who was a full participant in practice, and tight end Jatavian Sanders, who did not practice. So I don't think he'll be playing tomorrow night. And for the Buccaneers, cornerback Jamil Dean is out with a shoulder, while linebacker Anthony Nelson is out with a knee. Meanwhile, defensive tackle Kalaja Kansi is questionable with a pectoral muscle. Other names listed for Tampa include tight end Devin Culp, wide receiver Mike Evans. He did not practice. Culp did. He was a full participant. Offensive tackle Luke Gedeke, who was a limited participant in practice. And then quarterback Baker Mayfield and cornerback Benjamin Morrison, both full participants in practice. And offensive tackle Tristan Wirfs, who was limited. Now to the big Saturday night showdown between the Seahawks and 49ers. On the Seattle side of things, tackle Charles Cross is out with a hamstring. Safety Kobe Bryant is doubtful with a knee. And tackle Josh Jones is questionable with an ankle and a knee. Other names listed for the Seahawks include tight end A.J. Barner, full participant in practice. Linebacker Derek Hall, full participant in practice. Likewise with cornerback Josh Jobe. Wide receiver Cooper Kupp, who was limited in practice. And the remaining players, linebacker DeMarcus Lawrence, tackle Abraham Lucas, safety Ty Okada, wide receivers Rashid Shaheed and Jackson Smith-Njigba, and defensive end Leonard Williams were all full participants this week in practice. For the 49ers, they come in relatively healthy with the exception of 5 players, and many of them are key players. Tight end George Kittle is questionable with an ankle. He was limited in practice. Wide receiver Ricky Pearsall is questionable with a knee and an ankle. He was also limited in practice. Cornerback Upton Stout is questionable with a concussion. Meanwhile, defensive end Keon White is questionable with a groin. And tackle Trent Williams is questionable with a hamstring. Other players listed for San Francisco include cornerback Renardo Green, fullback Kyle Juszczyk, and running back Christian McCaffrey. All were full participants in practice. And defensive end Yatir Gross-Matos, who did not practice. All right, moving to Sunday, we'll start with the Packers and Vikings. On the Green Bay side, guard Donovan Jennings is out with a throat injury. Linebacker Nick Neiman is out with a pectoral. Guard John Williams is out with a back, no relation to my brother or my father or my grandfather for that matter. Wide receiver Savion Williams is out with a foot and an illness. Meanwhile, wide receiver Dontavian Wicks is doubtful with a concussion. Tackle Zach Tom is questionable with a back and a knee. Quarterback Malik Willis with a shoulder and a hamstring is questionable. If he doesn't go, it looks like it's going to be Clayton Tune. Other names listed include guard Aaron Banks, limited participation in practice. Linebacker Edgerrin Cooper and running back Josh Jacobs, both full participants. Quarterback Jordan Love, full participant. He might go instead of Clayton Tune. Wide receiver Jaden Reed, full participant in practice. And defensive end Lucas Van Ness, limited in practice. For the Vikings, tight end Gavin Bartholomew is out with a back. Tight end TJ Hawkinson is out with a shoulder. And running back Aaron Jones is out with a hip. As well as wide receiver Miles Price, he's out with an ankle. Cornerback Dwight McLaughlin is questionable with a hip. Other names listed include defensive end Jonathan Allen, limited in practice. Linebacker Blake Cashman, full participant. Defensive tackle Javon Hargrave, limited in practice. Running back Jordan Mason, and quarterback J.J. McCarthy, both full participants. Tackle Brian O'Neill, also a full participant. Defensive tackle Levi Drake Rodriguez was also a full participant. And safety Harrison Smith, who was limited in practice. Next up, Cowboys Giants. For Dallas, guard TJ Bass is out with a knee. Running back Malik Davis is out with a calf and an eye. Linebacker DeMarvion Overshown will be out with a concussion. Cornerback Siobhan Revel Jr. is out with a concussion and a neck. And running back Javonte Williams is also out with a shoulder and a neck. Running back Phil Maffa is questionable with a shoulder. And defensive end Peyton Turner is questionable with ribs. Other names listed, and it's a pretty big list. Guard Tyler Booker, full participant in practice. Cornerback Kalen Carson, full participant in practice. Defensive tackle Kenny Clark, full participant in practice. Tight end Jake Ferguson, full participant in practice. Wide receiver Ryan Flournoy, full participant in practice. Okay. My computer's doing weird things right now. There we go. Where was I? Jake Ferguson, Robert Flournoy. Okay. Guard Tyler Smith, full participant in practice. Wide receiver Cavante Turpin. Defensive tackle Quentin Williams. Safety Donovan Wilson. And defensive tackle Perion Winfrey were all full participants. For the Giants, cornerback Cordell Flott out with a knee. Safety Javon Holland is out with a knee and a concussion. Tight end Theo Johnson is out with an illness. Guard Evan Neal is out with a neck. Raheem Nunez Roches is out with an ankle and a toe. And wide receiver Wandale Robinson is out with a rib injury. Wide receiver Jalen Hyatt is questionable with an illness. Other names listed for the Giants include linebacker Abdul Carter, limited in practice. Wide receiver Bo Collins, who did not practice. Guard Joshua Azudu, full participant in practice. Defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence, who did not practice. And defensive tackle Roy Robinson Harris, who also was a limited participant in practice. All right, Colts and Texans. We'll start off with the Indianapolis Colts. Cornerback Sauce Gardner with a calf. Tight end Will Mallory with a lung. Quarterback Anthony Richardson with an eye. And safety Daniel Scott with a knee are all out. Other names include cornerback Mekhi Becton, center Tanner Bortolini, linebacker Zaire Franklin, cornerback Jalen Jones, center Danny Pinter, tackle Bernard Raymond, guard Dalton Tucker, and defensive end JT Tuamolau were all full participants in practice. For the Texans, linebacker Jamal Hill is out with a calf, and cornerback Kamari Lassiter out with an ankle and a knee. So that's a big loss in that Texans secondary. Also, tackle Trent Brown is questionable with an ankle and a knee. Cornerback Ajani Carter is questionable with a hamstring. And defensive end Darrell Taylor is questionable with an ankle. Other names listed include linebacker Aziz Al-Shire, full participant. Defensive end Danico Autry, full participant. Long snapper Austin Brinkman, full participant. Wide receiver Nico Collins. Tackle Alorante Essery. Kicker Kaimi Fairbairn. Guard Ed Ingram. Defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins, cornerback Derek Stingley Jr., and they were all full participants in practice. Meanwhile, tight end Dalton Schultz did not practice, so we're not expecting to see him on Sunday. All right, Browns-Bengals. We'll start with the Bengals. Tight end we'll start off with the Browns. Tight end Harold Fanning Jr. is out with a groin. Tight end David Njoku has a knee injury, but he is out due to a personal matter. Linebacker Winston Reed is out with a back. And linebacker Carson Schlesinger is out with an ankle and a quad. Meanwhile, center Kingsley Agulkun is questionable with a knee and a shoulder. Cornerback Miles Harden is questionable with a shoulder. and guard Tevin Jenkins is questionable with a concussion. Other names listed include tight end Brendan Bates, guard Joel Bitonio, cornerback Tyson Campbell, all full participants in practice. Safety Grant Delpit, limited participation. Quarterback Dylan Gabriel, full participant. Defensive end Myles Garrett, limited participation. Defensive tackle Mason Graham, full participant. Defensive tackle Mike Hall Jr., limited participant. Defensive tackle Shelby Harris, limited in practice. Tackle KT Leviston, full participant. Also, running back Dylan Sampson and quarterback Shedeur Sanders, both full participants. And for the Bengals, wide receiver Charlie Jones and defensive end Joseph Asai are both out with ankle injuries. Safety Matt Lee, or center rather, Matt Lee is out with a knee, and cornerback Josh Newton is out with a hamstring. Tight end Cam Grandy with a chest and defensive tackle BJ Hill with an ankle are both questionable. The only other name mentioned is running back Chase Brown. He was a full participant, so I'm expecting him to go on Sunday. Saints Falcons. We'll start with the Saints. Defensive tackle Brian Breezy is out with a knee. Running back Alvin Kamara is out with a knee and an ankle. Wide receiver Chris Olave is out with an illness. Defensive tackle Nathan Shepard is out with an ankle and a knee. Linebacker Demario Davis is questionable with a calf. Guard Dylan Radness is questionable with a knee. And quarterback Spencer Rattler is questionable with a finger. Other names listed include cornerback Michael Davis, who did not participate this week in practice. Defensive tackle Devin Gottschall, full participant. Tight end Zaire Mitchell-Patton, who did not participate. Guard Cesar Ruiz, full participant. Quarterback Tyler Shuck, full participant. Meanwhile, tight end Jack Stoll and wide receiver Mason Tipton did not practice. And for the Falcons, defensive tackle Brandon Dorless is out with a hamstring. And cornerback Clark Phillips III is out with both a triceps and an illness. Safety DeMarco Helliams is questionable with a hamstring. Wide receiver Drake London is questionable with a knee. Likewise for wide receiver Darnell Mooney. Tight end Kyle Pitts is questionable with a knee. He was limited in practice this week. And defensive tackle Sam Roberts is questionable with a knee and an ankle. Other names listed include safety Jesse Bates, limited participation. Linebacker Caden Ellis, limited participation. Linebacker Leonard Floyd did not practice. Cornerback Mike Hughes did not practice. Tackle Jake Matthews did not practice. Defensive tackle David Onyemata did not practice. And tight end Charlie Warner did not practice. Next up, Titans and Jaguars. For Tennessee, cornerback Jalen Armour Davis is out with an Achilles. Tight end Gunnar Helm is out with a toe. Wide receiver Van Jefferson with a forearm. Linebacker Arden Key with a hip. And linebacker Olafemi Oladeo are all with a fibula. All three players are listed as out. Safety Amani Hooker is doubtful with an ankle and a toe. Linebacker Ali Gay is questionable with a knee. And wide receiver Bryce Oliver is questionable with a knee as well. Other names listed include linebacker Cody Barton, full participant in practice. Get that off of there. Defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons, full participant. Linebacker Jahad Ward, full participant. And guard Kevin Zeitler, limited participation. And for the Jaguars, linebacker Jalen McLeod with an ankle and guard Patrick McCurry with a back are both out. Other names listed include linebacker Yasir Abdullah, full participant in practice. Defensive tackle Eric Armstead, full participant. Cornerback Monteric Brown and guard Ezra Cleveland, both limited in practice. Setter Robert Hainsley and tackle Anton Harrison, both full participants. Cornerback Greg Newsome II, limited in practice. Defensive end Denny Strigal and running back was Shul Tootin, both of which were full participants. All right, next up, Cardinals-Rams. All right, guard Evan Brown is out due to a personal matter. And linebacker Josh Sweat for the Cardinals is questionable with an ankle and a knee. Other players listed include safety Buda Baker and tackle Kelvin Beachum, both full participants. Defensive tackle Calais Campbell and safety Katan Crawford, who did not practice. Safety Hajati Froholt, full participant in practice. Wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. did not practice. Probably he won't play either. And then cornerbacks Will Johnson and Max Milton, both full participants. For the Rams, guard Kevin Dotson is out with an ankle. Safety Quentin Lake is out with an elbow. Cornerback Josh Wallace is out with an ankle. Meanwhile, wide receiver Devontae Adams is questionable with a hamstring. Running back Blake Corum is questionable with an ankle, as is tight end Tyler Higbee. Tackle Alaric Jackson, I should say, is questionable with a knee. Meanwhile, linebacker Omar Spates and running back Kyron Williams are both questionable with ankle injuries. Other names listed include defensive end Brandon Fisk, who was a full participant in practice, safety Jalen McCullough, and wide receiver Xavier Smith were both full participants, and linebacker Byron Young did not practice. All right, Commanders and Eagles. We'll start with the Commanders. Quarterback Jaden Daniels out for the season with that elbow injury. They shut him down, I think, in week 15. Backup quarterback Marcus Mariota also out with a hand and a quadricep. Tackle Laramie Tunsil is out with an oblique. Tackle Brandon Coleman is questionable with a knee. Other names listed include linebacker Nick Ballore, full participant in practice. Same with wide receiver Treylon Burks. Running back Ja'Cory Crosby-Merritt. Tackle George Fentz. Defensive tackle Daron Payne. And linebacker Bobby Wagner. All were full participants in practice. Meanwhile, linebacker Von Miller did not participate this week in practice. For the Eagles, defensive tackle Jalen Carter is out with a hip. Linebacker Nakobe Dean is out with a hamstring. Safety Marcus Epps is out with a concussion. Tight end Dallas Goedert is out with a knee. Tackle Lane Johnson is out with a foot. Hopefully we can get most of these players back for the postseason. And linebacker Jalen Phillips is out with an ankle. Only two other names listed, and those are linebacker Jahad Campbell and tackle Cameron Williams, both full participants in practice. Next up, Chargers-Broncos. For the Chargers, running back Omarion Hampton is out with an ankle. Cornerback Nico Reed is out with a hamstring. Guard Jamari Salyer, I should say, he's doubtful with a hamstring. Meanwhile, center Bradley Bozeman is questionable with a concussion. Running back Hassan Haskins also questionable with a concussion. Safety R.J. Mickens is questionable with a shoulder. Cornerback Benjamin St. Juste is also questionable with a shoulder. Running back Kamani Vidal is questionable with a neck. Now, LA is looking to rest a number of their key players, including Justin Herbert. For the Broncos, linebacker Dre Greenlaw is out with a hamstring. Same with linebacker Kareem Reed. Defensive end John Franklin Myers is questionable with a hip. Other names listed include tight end Nate Atkins, wide receiver Pat Bryant, and guard Ben Powers, all full participants in practice. Jets at Bills, starting off with the visiting Jets. Defensive end Michael Clemens is out with an ankle. Running back Isaiah Davis is out with a concussion. Guard Xavier Newman-Johnson is out with a knee. Cornerback Quantez Stiggers is also out with a knee. Tight end Mason Taylor is out with a neck. And tight end Jelani Woods is out with a hamstring. Running back Breece Hall is questionable with a knee. Cornerback Brandon Stevens is questionable with a neck. Quarterback Tyrod Taylor is questionable with a knee. And guard Joe Tipman is questionable with a hip. Other names listed include linebacker Cam Jones, full participant in practice. Running back Kene Nwangwu and defensive tackle Harrison Phillips were also full participants in practice. The Bills are pretty much going into this game healthy for the most part. But here's the list of players they do have on their injury report. Quarterback Josh Allen, linebacker Terrell Bernard, defensive end Joey Bosa, running back James Cook, defensive end AJ Epinesa, tackle Tylen Grable, defensive tackle Daquan Jones, safety Jordan Poyer, who all did not practice this week. Meanwhile, tight ends Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, safety Cam Lewis, defensive tackle Jordan Phillips, and cornerback Tre'Davious White were all limited in practice. Meanwhile, kicker Matt Prater and fullback Reggie Gilliam were both full participants. All right, now we've made it to the Dolphins and the Patriots. We'll start with Miami. Safety Minkah Fitzpatrick is out with a calf. Meanwhile, running back Devin Achane is doubtful with a shoulder. Linebacker Quentin Bell with an illness. Safety Aaron Brewer with a neck. Linebacker Jordan Brooks with a hamstring. Tackle Austin Jackson with a back and a groin. Linebacker Chop Robinson with a concussion. Kicker Jason Sanders with a hip. And wide receiver Jalen Waddle with ribs are all questionable. Other names listed included linebacker KJ Britt, who was a full participant in practice, and tight end Darren Waller. And for the Patriots, linebacker Harold Landry III is out with a knee. Linebacker Robert Spillane is out with an ankle. Defensive tackle Kyrus Tonga is out with a foot. Guard Jarrett Wilson is out with a concussion. Fullback Jack Westover is questionable with an ankle. And cornerback Charles Woods is questionable with a foot. Other names listed include cornerback Alex Austin, limited participation in practice. Defensive tackle Christian Barmore, wide receiver Kayshon Boutte, tackle Will Campbell, linebacker Clavon Chason, all full participants in practice. Wide receiver Stephon Diggs was limited in practice. Of course, I heard about the disturbing story involving Stephon Diggs and Christian Barmore. We're not going to go in depth on that here, though. Wide receiver Demario Douglas, full participant in practice. Tight end Hunter Henry, limited participation. Tackles Morgan Moses and Thayer Munford Jr., both full participants. And defensive tackle Milton Williams, easy for me to say. He was a full participant, but I'm not expecting him to play. They're probably saving him for the playoffs. Lions at Bears. We'll start with the Lions. Linebacker Alex Anzalone is out with a concussion. Guard Tristan Colon is out with a wrist. Safety Thomas Harper is out with a concussion. Defensive tackle Alim McNeil is out with an abdomen. Tackle Penei Sewell is out with an ankle. Meanwhile, guard Coyote Awosika is questionable with an illness. Tackle Taylor Decker is questionable with a shoulder and an illness. Guard Christian Mahogany, tackle Giovanni Manu, and wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown with a knee and an ankle are also listed as questionable. One other name on Detroit's injury report, and that's safety Avon Maddox, who was a full participant in practice. On the Bears side, defensive end Joe Tryon-Shoyinka is out with a concussion. Meanwhile, safety Jaquan Brisker with an illness. Cornerback Nick McLeod also with an illness. Wide receiver Roma Dunze with a foot, and tackle Ozzy Trapilo with a knee and a quadricep are all questionable. Others listed on the Bears injury report include cornerback Josh Blackwell, full participant in practice. Also, wide receiver Luther Burden III, he was a full participant, as was guard Jonah Jackson and wide receiver Olamide Zaccheaus. Now to the Chiefs and the Raiders, starting off with the Chiefs. Tight end Jake Brennenswell is out with a hamstring. Guard Trey Smith is out with an ankle. Wide receiver Xavier Worthy is doubtful with an illness. All right. Tackle Jalen Moore is questionable with a knee. Meanwhile, defensive end George Karlaftis, running back Isaiah Pacheco, and defensive tackle Jerry Tillery are all listed as questionable, but Karlaftis and Pacheco are both getting rest, and Tillery has a personal matter. Other names listed for the Chiefs include cornerback Christian Fulton, running back Kareem Hunt, defensive tackle Derek Nandi, and long snapper James Winchester, all full participants. For the Raiders, defensive tackle Adam Butler is out with biceps. Guard Dylan Parham is out with an illness. Quarterback Geno Smith is out with an ankle. Running back Raheem Mostert is questionable with a knee and an ankle. Two other names on the Raiders injury report, wide receiver Jack Beck, and wide receiver Tyler Lockett, both full participants in practice. And in the season finale between the Ravens and the Steelers, here's the injury reports here. For Baltimore, wide receiver Rashad Bateman with an illness. Cornerback Marlon Humphrey also with an illness, and defensive tackle Taven Bryan with a knee are all questionable. Other names listed include wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins, full participant, quarterback Lamar Jackson, full participant, tight end Charlie Kolar, full participant, fullback Patrick Ricard, full participant, linebacker Roquan Smith, full participant, tackle Ronnie Stanley did not practice, linebacker Calvin Noy and guard Andrew Voorhees were both full participants in practice. And the Steelers are pretty much healthy going into this one. Here are the names they do have listed. Wide receiver Calvin Austin III, cornerback Brandon Echols, linebacker Malik Harrison, defensive tackle Cameron Hayward, long snapper Christian Kuntz, cornerback James Pierre, quarterback Aaron Rodgers, Wide receiver Ben Skowronek and linebacker TJ Watt, all full participants. Meanwhile, guard Isaac Seumalo did not practice. All right, so that's the injury report. Now we're going to move into the Week 18 playoff clinching and elimination scenarios. And we'll start with a look at both conferences, beginning with the NFC. All right, the Seahawks are presently the number 1 seed with a record of 13-3. The Bears and Eagles are both 11-5. Chicago has the tiebreaker head-to-head over Philadelphia. That puts the Bears second and the Eagles third. The Panthers did not clinch a playoff spot yet. They are 8-8 and sitting fourth. The 49ers are fifth with a record of 12-4. The Rams are sixth at 11-5. And the Packers are seventh at 9-6-1. The Vikings and Lions are both 8-8. Minnesota does hold the head-to-head tiebreaker over Detroit after beating the Lions twice this year. Then it's the Cowboys at 7-8-1, sitting in the 10th spot. Then it's the Bucks and Falcons, both 7-9. Tampa Bay has the tiebreaker over Atlanta based on common games, 5-6 versus 4-7. So this puts Tampa Bay at number 11, Atlanta at number 12. The Saints are 6-10. The Commanders are 4-12. And then the Cardinals and Giants are at the bottom of the conference at 3-13. Arizona has the tiebreaker over New York based on conference record. 3-8 for the Cardinals, 1-10 for the Giants. On the AFC side, the Broncos are number 1 presently at 13-3. Patriots are also 13-3. Denver wins the tiebreaker over New England based on winning percentage in common games. 6-0 for Denver, 5-1 for New England. So this bumps the Patriots down to number 2. The Jaguars currently sitting in the 3 spot at 12-4. The Steelers are number 4 at 9-7. They have not clinched yet. The 3 wild cards have been decided in this conference. The Texans, Chargers, and Bills are all 11-5. Houston wins the tiebreaker on head-to-head sweep over both Buffalo and LA, so that gives Houston the number 5 spot for the time being. LA has the tiebreaker over Buffalo based on winning percentage in common games. Chargers 5-1, Bills 3-3. So that puts the Chargers at number 6 and Buffalo at number 7. The Colts and Ravens are both 8-8. Indianapolis, already eliminated, holds the tiebreaker over Baltimore based on conference record. Indy is 6-5 in the AFC, while the Ravens are 5-6. But the Ravens are playing for the AFC North title. At number 10, it's the Dolphins at 7-9. Then you got the Bengals and Chiefs, both 6-10. Cincinnati has the tiebreaker over Kansas City based on conference record. Bengals 5-6 in the AFC, while the Chiefs are only 3-8. So that puts the Bengals 11 and the Chiefs at 12. The Browns are number 13 with a record of 4-12. Then you got the Titans and Jets, both at 3-13. Tennessee has the tiebreaker over New York based on common games. 1-4 for Tennessee, 1-5 for the Jets. So that puts the Titans number 14 and the Jets 15. And at the bottom, the Las Vegas Raiders at 2-14. All right, here are your standard style clinching scenarios. We'll start in the NFC. The Seahawks clinched the NFC West title, a first-round bye, and home field advantage in the playoffs with a win or tie. So all they have to do is beat the Niners, and that's the same with San Francisco. They win the West Division title. They win the number 1 seed, which gives them a first-round bye and home field advantage if they beat the Seahawks. The Panthers clinches the NFC South title with a win or tie or a Falcons victory over the Saints. Meanwhile, Tampa Bay wins the NFC South with a win and an Atlanta loss or tie. On the AFC side, the Broncos lock up the number 1 seed, gets a first round bye and home field advantage with a win, or a Broncos tie plus a Patriots loss or tie, or a Patriots loss plus a Jaguars loss or tie. The Patriots get the number 1 seed if they win, plus Denver loses or ties the Chargers, or a Patriots tie and a Broncos loss. Jacksonville wins the number 1 seed with a win, plus losses by both Denver and New England. They will win the AFC South with a win or tie against the Titans, or a Texans loss or tie to the Colts. Houston wins the AFC South with a win and a Jacksonville loss. Pittsburgh claims the AFC North title if they beat or tie the Ravens, and Baltimore wins the AFC North if they beat the Steelers outright. Alright, as far as NFC scenarios by seed, we'll start with the 1 seed. Seattle gets it with a win or tie. San Francisco gets the 1 seed if they beat the Seahawks. As for the 2 seed, Chicago keeps the number 2 seed with a win, plus or either ties by both the Bears and Eagles, or a Philadelphia loss. Philadelphia gets the 2 seed with a win over the Commanders, plus a Bears loss or tie to the Lions, or an Eagles tie and a Bears loss. As for number 3, Philly gets the 3 with a tie, plus a Bears tie, or an Eagles loss, or a Bears win. Chicago drops to the 3 if they tie and the Eagles win, or Chicago loses and Philadelphia beats or ties the Commanders. The 4 seed is pretty much determined. Whoever gets it is the NFC South champion. So that means for Carolina to win the 4 seed, they have to beat or tie the Buccaneers, or the Falcons beat the Saints. Otherwise, Tampa gets the 4 seed with a Tampa Bay win and an Atlanta loss or tie. As far as the 5 seed is concerned, the 49ers get the 5 seed with a tie with the Seahawks, or a San Francisco loss to Seattle, plus an LA loss or tie to Arizona. The Seahawks get the 5 seed if they lose. The Rams get the 5 seed if they win and San Francisco loses. As for number 6, the Rams obtain the 6th seed with a loss or tie, or a Niners win or tie. And the 49ers falls to the 6th with a loss to Seattle, plus an LA win against Arizona. Meanwhile, the 7th seed is all determined. That's the Green Bay Packers. As for elimination scenarios, Carolina will be knocked out of playoff contention with a loss to Tampa, plus a Falcons loss or tie to the Saints. Tampa Bay is eliminated from playoff contention with a loss or tie to the Panthers, or a Falcons win. Now, AFC scenarios by seed. The Broncos, Patriots, and Jaguars all have a claim for the top spot. Denver gets it with a win, or a Broncos tie plus a Patriots loss or tie, or a Broncos win, a Patriots loss plus a Jags loss or tie. New England gets the 1 seed with a win and a Denver loss or tie, or a Patriots tie and a Broncos loss. Jacksonville gets the number 1 seed if they win and Denver and New England both lose. As for the 2 seed, the Patriots get the number 2 with a win and a Broncos win, or a Patriots tie plus a Broncos win or tie, or a Patriots loss and a Jaguars loss or tie, or a Broncos win plus a Jaguars loss or tie. Denver gets the 2 seed with a tie or a Patriots win, or rather a tie and a Patriots win, or a Broncos loss plus a Patriots win or tie and a Jaguars loss or tie, or a Broncos loss, a Patriots loss, and a Jaguars victory. Jacksonville gets the number 2 seed with a win plus a Denver loss plus a New England win or tie, or a Jaguars win plus a Broncos win or tie, or a Patriots loss. You have 4 teams battling for the 3 seed as of right now. Jacksonville gets the number 3 with a win plus a Broncos win or tie plus a Patriots win or tie, or just simply a Jaguars tie with the Titans, or a Jacksonville loss plus a Houston loss or tie, or a Denver win or wins or ties by both Denver and New England, plus a Houston loss or tie. Denver gets the 3 seed with a loss plus a Patriots win or tie, or a Jacksonville win. The Patriots get the 3 seed with a loss and a Jags win. The Texans get the 3 seed with a win and a Jags loss. The 4 seed will be the champion of the AFC North. For the Steelers, they lock up the 4 if they beat or tie the Ravens. Baltimore, meanwhile, has to win outright to claim the 4 seed. And then you got a lot of scenarios for the 5 seed. Houston falls to the 5 seed. Houston gets the 5 seed with a win plus a Jacksonville win or tie, or a Texans tie plus a Charger loss or tie and a Bills loss or tie, or a Texans loss plus a Charger loss plus a Bills loss, or a Jacksonville win or tie and losses by both LA and Buffalo. Jacksonville gets the 5 seed with a loss plus a Houston win plus a Buffalo loss or tie. Or a Jacksonville loss plus a Houston win plus an LA win plus 3.5 or more combined wins from the Giants, Commanders, Packers, Panthers, Cardinals, 49ers, Patriots, and Ravens. This italicized portion of scenario 2 is for Jacksonville, clinching at least a tie in strength of victory over Los Angeles. The Chargers get the 5 seed with a win plus a Texans loss or tie, or a Chargers win plus a Jacksonville loss plus a Buffalo win plus 5 or more combined wins from Dallas, Philadelphia, Minnesota, Tampa Bay, Seattle, the LA Rams, Miami, or Pittsburgh, or a Chargers tie plus a Houston loss plus a Buffalo loss or tie. The italicized portion of scenario 2 is for LA clinching strength of victory over Jacksonville. Buffalo gets the 5 seed with a win plus a loss or tie by both the Chargers and Texans, or a Bills win plus a Chargers loss or tie plus a Jaguars loss, or the Bills somehow tie the Jets and the Chargers and Texans both must lose. And you got a lot for number 6. We'll run through all of them. The Chargers get the 6 seed with a win plus a Texans win plus a Jags win or tie. or a Charger win plus the Texans win plus 3.5 or more combined victories from the Giants, Commanders, Packers, Panthers, Cardinals, 49ers, Patriots, and Ravens. Or a Chargers win plus a Texans win plus a Bills tie. Or a Charger tie, a Texans win or tie, plus a Bills tie. Or a Charger tie plus a Texans tie and a Bills loss. Or a Chargers tie plus a Texans loss plus a Bills win. Or simply a Chargers loss plus a Buffalo loss. Or a Houston win plus a Buffalo loss. The italicized portion of scenario 2 is for Jacksonville clinching at least a tie in strength of victory over LA. Jacksonville gets the 6 if they lose, plus Houston and Buffalo wins, plus the Chargers lose or tie. The Texans get the 6th seed with a tie, plus a Bills loss or tie, plus a Chargers win. Or a Texans tie, plus a Bills win, plus a Chargers loss or tie. Or losses by both Houston and Buffalo, and an LA win or tie. Or losses by Houston and the Chargers, plus a win or tie by the Bills. Buffalo gets the 6 if they win, plus a Chargers lose or loss or tie rather, plus a Texans win and a Jaguars win or tie. Or a Bills win plus a Chargers win plus a Texans loss or tie. Or a Bills win plus a Chargers win plus a Jaguars loss, plus 5 or more combined wins from the Cowboys, Eagles, Vikings, Buccaneers, Seahawks, Rams, Dolphins, and Steelers. Or a Bills tie plus a Chargers loss plus a Texans win or tie. Or a Bills tie plus a Chargers win or tie plus a Texans loss. The italicized portion of scenario 3 is for Los Angeles clinching strength of victory over Jacksonville. And then you got the 7 seed. Buffalo falls to the number 7 seed if they tie the Jets, plus wins or ties by both the Chargers and Texans, or a straight up Buffalo loss to the Jets, which I don't see happening. Or a Chargers win plus a Texans win plus a Jaguars win or tie. Or a Chargers or wins by the Chargers and Texans plus 3.5 or more combined wins from the Giants, Commanders, Packers, Panthers, Cardinals, 49ers, Patriots, and Ravens. The italicized portion of scenario 4 is for Jacksonville clinching at least a tie in strength of victory over the Chargers. Jacksonville gets the 7 seed with a loss, plus wins by Houston, LA, and Buffalo, and 5 or more combined wins from Dallas, Philadelphia, Minnesota, Tampa Bay, Seattle, the LA Rams, Miami, or Pittsburgh. The italicized portion of this scenario is for the Chargers clinching strength of victory over Jacksonville. The Texans get the 7 seed with a tie, plus wins by both the Chargers and Bills, or a Texans loss, plus wins or ties by the Chargers and Bills. And LA gets the 7 seed if they tie the Broncos, plus a Texans win or tie, or a Bills win, or a Charger loss plus a Bills win or tie. As for the only elimination scenarios from the AFC, they're both from the North. Pittsburgh is eliminated from the playoffs with a loss. Baltimore is eliminated from the playoffs with a loss or tie. All right, one more thing. one more thing to look at, and that's the top 10 of the draft. As it sits right now, the Las Vegas Raiders would have the number 1 pick in the 2026 draft, followed by the Giants at number 2, the Jets at number 3, the Titans at number 4, the Cardinals at number 5. Then you have the Commanders at 6, who would win the tiebreaker over Cleveland on common games, 1-5 versus 3-3. So this gives the Commanders the number 6 pick. The Browns would slip to 7. And then rounding out the top 10, you have the Saints, Chiefs, and Bengals, with New Orleans sitting number 8, Kansas City sitting at number 9 via a tiebreaker over Cincinnati based on worst conference record, 3-8 versus 5-6, and then Cincinnati at number 10. As for the first overall draft pick, Vegas clinches the number 1 pick in the 2026 NFL draft with a loss or tie to the Chiefs, or 3 or more combined losses from the Bears, Falcons, Seahawks, and Browns, or a Giants win or tie. The italicized portion of scenario 2 is for New York clinching at least a tie in strength of schedule over Las Vegas. And the Giants will clinch the first overall draft pick with a loss plus a Raiders win plus 1.5 or more combined losses from the Lions, Saints, 49ers, and Bengals. And the italicized portion of this scenario is for Vegas clinching strength of schedule over New York. All right, there it is. Those are my Week 18 NFL picks, both straight up and against the spread, plus over-under predictions. Also, a look at the injury reports from all 16 games of this final weekend of the season, and the playoff clinching and elimination scenarios going into Week 18. All right, as I said, this was a long one. I'm an hour and 12 minutes in, and I'm finally wrapping up. So thanks for joining me. Like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell and get notified every time I go live. This is Big Al signing off. Thanks again for watching, and enjoy the pigskin. Peace out. Oh, and Happy New Year, too.